I have always been afraid of the ocean. The vastness of it to me has meant I have felt scared of water and never learned to swim. In 2015, I was presenting at Puerto Vallarta, a beautiful city in Mexico. There was an evening event at Banderas Bay, a small island nearby, where we were taken on a boat. Well, before agreeing to go on the event, I asked the organizers multiple times how fast the boat was going to be. And I was assured it was a slow sunset cruise. Guess what? Within minutes of boarding, the boat was speeding on the ocean. I sat with my head in my hands, hunched down. And many of my colleagues thought I was motion sick, so they started giving me bags. I wasn't motion sick. I was just terrified. But the funny thing is that many of those who had given me the bags needed them back. What a relief it was when we reached back. And after that experience, as far as I was concerned, I never wanted to be near the ocean again. Well, until I met Mike. Mike left his busy life, wife, and 3 children in the spring of 2021. His life had always been full on. Busy job, home commitments, and he struggled to find a balance most of the time, but he kept going. He believed he was chasing his dream. The only enjoyment he had was alcohol in the evenings as it relaxed him. Then life took a turn. When following a small mistake at work, he had a meltdown and he was sent home. He just could not face anyone anymore. The shame, the stigma, the worry about his image. He felt disconnected. One evening, following an argument at home, he left. He went to his friend's holiday home in a small fishing village. His friend insisted that he sees me. This is when I met Mike virtually. His initial interactions with me were forced and obligatory. Most of his answers were monosyllabic. I gathered he had not left the house or interacted with anyone for nearly 2 weeks. Well, he was in a dark place in his life. And remember, we were all shut away during the pandemic. Like Mike, we all go through ups and downs in life. And some of us may find ourselves in his shoes, feeling overwhelmed, unable to see a way ahead, and yet struggling to take advice. Have you ever found yourself in that place? Over the coming couple of sessions, I found him to try and open up slowly. Well, it is amazing what a non-judgmental chat and a couple of meaningless giggles can do to a closed book. He went to me about his old life, and I listened and joked with him about the meals he was cooking himself. I gently introduced the concept of the Mindlens, what I call the prism through which we view the world. Mike had worn glasses since he was 12 years old, so he could see the parallels in the way his glasses affected his frame of vision in the same way that the mind lens affects our perception of experiences. It is a filter that connects our inner and our outer world. It gets tinted by emotions, chipped by trauma, scarred by experiences, but ultimately it impacts in the way we understand and perceive experiences, act and behave in different situations. When we understand our own view of the world, we can truly separate fact from subjective fiction and have a more fulfilled life. I could see that he was slowly becoming receptive to my suggestions. Through our discussions, I was able to convince Mike to step out and walk on the beach for 10 to 15 minutes every day. I laughed with him. Well, I don't go near the ocean very much. Why don't you educate me? In order to avoid people, he would go early, keep to himself, and return home. Soon, however, he met the local fishermen. They also started their day early. They would greet him, and he started greeting them back. Let me explain the analogy of shutters on our mind lens, which is a way of managing our frame of vision. It is a natural process whereby we zone in on certain aspects without considering the bigger picture. For instance, when we focus on that one negative aspect of our life rather than consider the situation as a whole, we miss the helicopter view of an experience. Can you think of a time in your life when you might have focused so narrowly that you completely missed the entire context? Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to say it here. In moments of acute crisis, our mind, through the mind lens, protects itself from overwhelm and anxiety through using the shutters. It is an evolutionary reflex mechanism which is part of our fight, flight, or freeze instinct. Now, where a narrow focus protects us from a particular threat, it also limits our ability to see any opportunities that might linger in the periphery. A limited understanding of the facts affects our ability to review all the options and our decision making. So you can see that Mike had become so overwhelmed that the shutters of his mind lens had become narrow and he just could not see a way ahead. I was working on very small steps to move things forward. As our discussions progressed and he started meeting small goals, the gentle greetings with the fishermen turned into him feeling interested in what they were doing. And he also started joining them on their morning routes. While he was with them, he got a break from his dark negative thoughts and he started thinking about the mind lens. As he appreciated the vastness and complexities of the ocean, he could see that he needed to understand the intricacies of his mind lens and develop mental resilience, which is bouncing back from setbacks. Through joining the fishing boats regularly, Mike started noticing small things. The way the fishermen worked with each other, the way they planned their routes, the way they managed what they caught. He was struck by the mindfulness and care taken by the fishermen to maintain sustainable fishing practices. He observed that they measured and monitored their catch, taking only what was needed to maintain the balance in the ocean ecosystem. He was impressed by their deep understanding of the environment, the ocean currents, the tides, the weather patterns, and how these affected the fish populations. It was becoming clear to him that their deep understanding and knowledge of sustainable fishing practices was a result of years of experience and understanding that was passed down from generation to generation, and their commitment to preserving it for future generations. He explained to me that sustainable fishing practices was not just a set of rules for these fishermen, it was their way of life, and they had a deep respect for what the ocean provided them. Our meetings became more productive with deeper conversations, as Mike had now started understanding that just as sustainable fishing practices requires an understanding of the ocean ecosystem, mental well-being also requires care, balance, and mindfulness in our daily lives. As he appreciated more of his surroundings through his outings with the fishermen, the shutters of his mind lens started widening, and he could see a bit more of the foreground and the background. It is not uncommon for nature to have this effect on many of us. In the time that Mike was learning about mental resilience and ocean sustainability, I was learning a lot about the ocean as well. At a micro level, our family do our best to have a green mindset. We are very conscious of our water and electricity consumption, solar panels, electric cars. We do our best to reduce, conserve, and promote sustainable living. But my conversations with Mike reminded me that every part of life needs consideration, especially when that part covers 70% of our planet. My knowledge about the ocean and what sustainability of the ocean looks like grew. Where the fishermen's actions affect the ocean, our actions affect it too, something I had never considered. I also reflected that understanding our mind lens allows us to understand our blind spots or areas where we can educate ourselves and grow further. Having grown up with a fear of water, with very little exposure to the ocean had meant there was a gap in my understanding that life to date had not filled. The ocean can feel vast, and the challenge of its sustainability can feel unsurmountable, but every little step counts. By the time Mike was ready to begin his journey of self-discovery, something he had never considered before, he had already started making small and incremental changes in his life and outlook. He reflected that he had indulged in life without ever considering that there could be changes in his life. He explained to me that he had been living his life without any consideration of his own inner resources and the ecosystem he was living in. He had never considered his stresses. He had never considered the people around him. He had never considered how his actions were affecting the people who were trying to support him and he was pushing them away. All this had created an unbalanced ecosystem and left him depleted. He started to wonder why he had not looked after his inner resources in the same way that the fishermen looked after the ocean, taking only what was needed with a good understanding of how it could recover in the future. He wanted to transform his life through this adversity and reinvent himself. He could now see that just as understanding ocean sustainability involved an understanding of the environment, in order to live a balanced and fulfilled life, he needed to understand his mind lens. He needed to embark on the journey of self-discovery in small steps to manage his mental well-being. Maybe recovery, resilience, and reinvention is sustainability of our emotional well-being, he said to me. In the end, Mike's journey of self-discovery took him to a place of greater balance and contentment. He was able to return home with a renewed sense of passion, purpose, perspective. He continued to apply the lessons he had learned. This had become his new way of life. He became an advocate of mental well-being and sustainable living, sharing his story with others and encouraging them to embrace a more balanced way of life. Today, I want you to think about what he said to me. Recovery, resilience, and reinvention is sustainability of our emotional well-being, and how you might want to apply it to an issue in your life. How can the lessons Mike learned from the ocean help you bring balance into your lives? Mike's story is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all things and how the wisdom of the natural world can guide us towards greater balance and contentment. Where the ocean teaches us lessons on sustainability, it also teaches us the need to care for our mental well-being. By taking small steps, we can truly achieve meaning and fulfillment. The sustainability of our journey as humans has to come from understanding. Because remember, recovery, resilience, and reinvention is sustainability of our emotional well-being. Thank you.